This is the final of the Spiel Digital Championship between Fire Striker, Alias O, Monopoly 666 and myself, Tricosaurus. And with me to commentate this final is one of the best players I know in Hawkeye. This is one of the tournaments with more than 100 people participating. I managed to win enough games to make it to the final 4. So Hawkeye, what are your first thoughts on this board? What are you looking at specifically as your first pick?
I definitely noticed that the wheat seems to be not really ideal here, which is kind of the one really good wheat number. And it happens to be next to a good ore number as well, of the 659. So that definitely jumps out as the first pick in my opinion. But definitely curious to hear what your thought process is, since you're actually the one picking first on the board. So kind of wondering what was going through your head when you're picking and everything. But I definitely like 659. I think that seems like a solid first spot.
Yeah, definitely. I think 659 is a really good spot. And the big downside of the 659 is that the only port it can access is the sheep port. I'm not quite sure whether or not you can take a good sheep number on the way back. The 5810 won't be open, the other 5810 neither, and the 843 most likely neither. So in that case, that makes the 659 a little worse. Also making it worse is the fact that spots that are most likely open for the 8th pick will be a wood wheat spot. There are a lot of wood wheat spots on this map. All the wheat and all the wood spots are in the center of the board. 1 or 2 of them is going to be left open. So typically I look for combination spots that work well with it. So 643 would be an interesting option. But like you mentioned, like the 6 wheat is probably not going to be left open, so that makes the 643 not an ideal option. However, 694 could still be, but then you still have the problem of wood not being as relevant. Yeah, I agree with you, 659 is the safest option here. And I also assume that the 9 ore is gonna be a spot where only one player is gonna be placing on. So that makes the spot a lot better. The 6 wheat is gonna be blocked a lot. But then again, you might be able to take a second wheat spot with your 8th settlement. Okay, another spot I would consider as well is the 5810 at the left part of the map, with basically the 5 brick being the only reliable brick source on the map. It makes it so that the longest road is up for the grabs. Like, not a lot of other players can really contest for longest road.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. No one else is going to be on the 5. Largest army will be highly contested. One thing I've kind of noticed though is if you take wood and brick with your first settlement as opposed to your second, it does often lead to a lot of slow starts, since you obviously need 2 wood, 2 brick to expand anywhere. So if you're not starting with either in your hand, you are relying on those 2 5s to roll. It can be for a slow start. It's definitely a great strategy to go for longest road on a board like this, or it's not really going to be contested.
Yeah, so we're gonna see 659 and road towards the sheep board. Potentially 6, 11, 12 being open, but that's not very likely.
Yeah,
I don't think you'll.
It's a little harder just because there are a lot of good spots. So 3rd and 4th are going to get really good spots. 659 is really strong, but I think second's kind of at a disadvantage just because whatever 3rd, 4th gets is going to be really good as well. They'll obviously get better choices on their second settlement. So it's kind of a tough call here for second, I think.
Both the 694 and the 5810 are great. Like, I agree with you that they will have a weaker setup, but I also think it's not really that relevant to get the stronger setup, because the player on a 659 and on a board with the sand tile in the outer ring, it's very likely first position will get a really strong setup. Yeah. It's not going to be as relevant to try to get a stronger setup than that player.
Like you mentioned with that other 8510 with the rare brick, I do kind of like that. Because you in first position, I mean, like you said, you're probably not going to be able to get a good wheat spot. But if you look at second pick, there's going to be 2 other players picking 4 settlements total. They're probably not going to take 3 of those wheat spots between the 4 picks. There's a good chance you get wheat left. So I do kind of like that the left at 510, because it's pretty likely you'll get going second that you'll get wheat to go with it. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, you'll get longest road probably almost guaranteed. I do like this other 8510 as well, though, just because the wood being, pretty common, a lot more common than the brick. That wood port could end up coming in handy. And it's a high producing spot as well. Could maybe get to the 910 as well. Pointing the road up was an option. But it's a good spot for sure. I do really like that 8510 though on the left.
3rd position is going to go 694, so not leaving the 694 6311 combination for 4th position. So I definitely like this pick. You'd have to go with either of these. and you'll be left with a good wheat spot almost all of the time. Like I'm gonna assume 4th position is gonna go 8, 5, 10 in combination with a spot on the 6 wheat. Otherwise, this spot for red is gonna be absolutely insane with the coordinated 6s.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's kind of why I like 3rd, 4th position a lot more than 2nd. Yeah, I agree that you don't want anyone to get those coordinated 6s. So yeah, I think 3rd has to take that spot to prevent 4th from getting that and the 6 through 11. Yeah, I agree that 4th should also go into 6 wheat. And I think if they take that with like the 8, 5, 10, they'll really set up to get road, even without a chance to really connect the roads. Like they're pretty much guaranteed it because they literally have all the brick with the 5 and the 11. And then there's a chance to cut you off to the sheep port too and get on some ore with all that road potential. Yeah, I like that for sure. And then I'd assume they go 8, 5, 10 with the other one.
Yeah, it could also go 8, 4, 3. That could be an option.
Yeah, I thought about that too with having your settlements closer.
Yeah, but then it kind of makes more sense to take the road lost. Okay, no, I like this. I like this for sure. And these roads also could be connected. Like, I don't see someone placing on the 10, 3, 11. Especially not over the 9, 10, 11. So these roads can be connected. Longest road is up for the grabs, like you said. So this is definitely looking good for yellow. It's going to be important for them, though, to get a city pretty early. Because that is going to be the toughest thing for them. Yeah, so that will be difficult. How would you try to accomplish that if you had to the... Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that was one thing I thought of. Anytime you point your road to a port like that, next to a wood brick spot, you're in danger of getting cut off. I guess, yeah, like if I was yellow, I probably would have pointed my road left just to be safe. And then you still have the 3-1 port on the 8, which is a higher producing spot than the 11-12 3-1 port, and just an extra settlement spot on. Because when you're playing road like that, like you said, cities are hard. You need more settlements usually. So if you point left, you have more settlement spots available. And then if you are able to get the sheep port, doubling on the 8 sheep makes that more worthwhile, I think. But in terms of getting a city, I feel like you have to get the 3-1 port as quick as possible and try to like use your robbers to try to get ore as much as possible. But definitely a challenge. And yeah, definitely interesting play by Red here to not place on wheat with 8-4-3 available, but I guess they're thinking with the 3-1 port and ore port, they might be able to get wheat that way. And also have a play for longest road by getting on the brick.
Would you play wood wheat sheep in this scenario being 5 striker?
I probably would, just because there was really not a good ore spot. 8-4-3 is low ore, obviously. 9-10 is not really a good producing spot. And yeah, when you do wood wheat sheep, usually you want like a 3-1 port and a wood port and a wheat port. Like they have obviously a sheep port's ideal, but they kind of have all the necessary ports there. The only difficult thing is that there's really no brick to trade for. I guess they could maybe trade some with yellow. But so they're gonna have to, probably do a 4th one or 2 to get the brick. So that is a challenge, but I feel like they have to take 8-4-3 because that's an option too. The strong sheep port definitely leaves you a lot of options.
Yeah, I knew he picked this, and I predicted during the game that he would pick it. Because like I played with him before in the tournament and he was very much ore with sheep reliant, so I figured he would go ore. But yeah, that was pretty much inevitable. This kind of made it difficult for me. However, I still have a lot of 3-1 ports available. And the reason I went with the 8-4-3 at the top over the 8-4-3 at the bottom is because now I have 2 settlement spots available for sure. Where if I had gone to the 8-4-3 at the bottom, I would have to race with green to the 8-4-3 on the wheat board. So that's why I went with this, and I feel like I still have a pretty solid setup with a hybrid ore wheat sheep.
6 wheat, they get blocked a lot, so getting the additional wheat spot's good. And yeah, the 3-1 port will be useful with your really high production. I always like being on 2 ore numbers, just because you need more ore than wheat. So 8-4-3 is good for that. But then, yeah, you're not guaranteed a settlement spot, like if someone pulls a road building or something, and then you kind of just lose the game if you can't get that 5-4-11 and don't have a port as well. So that's definitely a lot riskier. So yeah, I do like this play. You'll get a 3-1 port hopefully, so you should be fine. And you have the 1 ore spot. It's kind of your weakness, but you have a lot of wheat. 3-1 port should help make up for that.
I also like this steal from Fire Striker because he needed the Wheat to get a development card, and now he got one. Well, we both know we're both going for the army. This is going to be an army race between me and green, and a road race most likely between yellow and red. So this is going to be interesting for sure. It's also really interesting to see who will get the 5-4-11 in the middle of the board. It's a really high producing spot left in the middle, as well as the 8-4-3. Make it so the player who gets it has a lot more production than the other players.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe more incentive for you to maybe buy development cards in hopes of getting that road building. But also, 659 is a really strong city spot. So to see you're trying to hold for a city there, it's always a tough debate, like at the beginning of the game, holding for city versus development card.
I think for me it's really important to get a 3-for-1 port here because I have a ton of wood which does nothing. I also have good wheat sheep, so I could really use a 3-for-1 here, port here. However, that's going to be tough without the brick.
I think in green spot, I kind of like holding for city over the development card. One reason, trying to like evaluate how useful the knights are and what you can. They can't block your only ore spot. Like you're their army competitor. They can't block your only ore spot because they're racing you. Blocking your wheat isn't that effective because you have another wheat spot. And then that 8-5-10 is such a good city spot with their sheep port. I think I definitely would have maybe held for a city first with green and then gone for the development cards.
What do you think of this knight buy, or should I have saved here for the city as well?
So you had 5 cards in your hands. I think I might have held one turn maybe just because a 9 and then either 6 or 4 gives it to you. But definitely, I don't think it's a bad play at all because, yeah, like you said, to get like that 3-1 port is so important that if you were to get like a Year of Plenty or road building, those are 2 really good cards for you. So basically, you're in a position where any development card is helpful. So a 6-5-9 city would be really massive, but also at the same time, when you're in a position that any development card is helpful for you, you can't really go wrong there. Because I mean, obviously Monopoly too. So I mean, pretty much anything you pull is going to be useful.
So red got the city on a 6-9-4, which is a massive spot, and he also won the race to the ore port, which will give him the opportunity to keep racing for road as he rolled a 2 along the way, so it's doing a lot of damage. What do you think of red's position here?
I mean, they were definitely in a tough spot without wheat, but getting that early city is definitely big. Because yeah, like they should be able to compete for road now, and then they'll have the ore port, and eventually a 3-1 port with all that wood, and they're definitely in a really good spot to win now. I guess I wasn't paying attention to see how they got that wheat, they stole it or traded for it. That's definitely they're definitely in one of the best spots now with that city.
Yeah, no clue. Oh, this is a mistake by me. Well, like the first time I stole from red to get that brick. But now I steal from someone else because I believe it was because I didn't want to block something else from him, or maybe not make enemies. But I think getting that brick should have been my priority here.
Yeah, I've definitely run into that exact problem actually. I mean, we play a lot of the same people all the time, playing in KOC, so we kind of know that people aren't going to get mad at things like that. But yeah, I was playing in one of these random tournaments. And I was in your exact scenario where I was stealing for someone's brick. I stole from twice in a row, and then they got mad at me and blocked me a couple of times. So I think that's definitely a legit concern about making enemies, especially when you don't know who you're playing against. Since that can really just lose you the game if they end up targeting you the whole time.
If you bring it like this, like, okay, hey man, I just need to get this brick. I don't produce any brick, and then like make them understand before you rob them, then I think it mitigates the damage you could do with stealing from them twice in a row.
That brick would have been definitely a really good steal for you. Not really any other way of getting it. But you did get the Year of Plenty now, so you'll be able to get your brick that way.
Yeah, so him trying to get the 2 resources I need for the road settlement with the Year of Plenty. Maybe they can do a 2-for-1. That would be awesome for me. I just asked for 2 wood because wood is a lot less scarce. And with the Year of Plenty, that can still do road settlement, so...
Yeah, so this is always one of those tough scenarios. It's like, they can afford 2 cards probably. Actually, he might need a 4th one for the settlement. But I think in that case, like, if you evaluate their position, I think the 11-12 is not really a good settlement for them, even though it's his turn and you're giving him a 1-for-1. I think maybe a 1-for-1's okay. I know a lot of people are afraid to do 1-for-1s on other people's turns. I think if you evaluate their position and you see that, the settlement isn't that good for him, and that he's really not a threat now that he's probably not going to get road. And then it gives you the chance to roll the wood on your turn to get the settlement that way, since you are in a couple of spots.
Yeah, the reason I didn't want to do 1-for-1 for wood is because I gain like a lot of wood. There wasn't to me much value in that deal. Giving 1-for-1s on their turns, especially consider multiple factors. Like if it was for them for a city, then definitely not. Like this, that could very well be possible. I think this is a good deal for me, but I'm trying to get something more out of it.
Yeah, so for sure. Yeah, I think if you can't get anything else down, I think we for.
Okay, it doesn't seem to go down. Okay, so red is going to make a counter offer. I don't have any wood, so this would have been an interesting deal. Giving them wheat is not what you want, but if you give them wheat and someone else deals with someone else, generally don't go through. Okay, so I'm trying something else here. And this is what I learned from K20 most likely, is that like offer many deals and just make them variate just little by little. Just try to have different deal after different deal after different deal. Not to wear them down, but just to get as much information as possible, and also to see what deals are possible for you and what deals are not possible for you. And also, if someone accepts at a certain point, they most likely will accept later on after you've done another couple of offers. So I can get the development card here, get a knight, trying to keep my hand size low. That's probably the idea.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really mind to get army before Fire Striker. I know I can beat him on the long run because my production is much higher than his.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And then, once you get a 3-1 port, which seems pretty inevitable with your plenty now.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have any problems. Then you can focus on getting that city.
So the followers of this channel know we've done this a couple of times, like discussing boards and discussing placements and discussing games. What did you recently pick up that has changed your perspective over the course of the game, Hawkeye?
Like in terms of this game specifically, like just from discussing boards, like what's kind of changed my opinion?
Yeah, for example.
It's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go in. But yeah, I think one thing I noticed, like I use the example of your 9 ore, and green is buying a ton of development cards, but the fact that they're sharing your ore with you means that you can let them buy development cards and your ore is always going to be unblocked. Kind of noting who is sharing what spots with you is definitely like a big factor or something I'm starting to pay attention to more. Like if green was on your 6 wheat instead, then them buying all these development cards is a huge problem because they're going to keep blocking your ore and you're never going to get ore. But the fact that you're really hard for them to block since you kind of share the same good spot, I think that's definitely something noteworthy. And that, like you said, you're going to get army in the long run. You don't mind them buying development cards, especially in this scenario, since they're going to help you keeping your 9 ore blocked as opposed to them being on a different spot and blocking your 9 ore constantly. So I think that's definitely something I've noted is which spots you're sharing with which people can make a big impact on the game.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so this deal goes down. I think this deal is great for both players. He gets a settlement and I get the rare brick, which I can use with my Year of Plenty, and I'll also get a step closer to the city I want to get. And this 2 is just rolling. Holy cow. It's really fortunate that this 9 has been blocked, otherwise we would have seen a ton of roads already by Eliezo. So
yeah, I really like that trade for you. That's like two rare cards. One you don't produce at all, one that you really need for the city. Gives you a very high chance to get the city in your turn, so like that's a great trade for you.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so this is road settlement. I could try to get a city by sheep for... Okay, so I'm gonna offer ore just to see what I can get, I guess.
With ore being rare, I mean, there's a chance, you can get 2 cards for it maybe and be able to road settle without the Year of Plenty.
Yeah, so just trying it. Okay, so this is interesting. Would you go to the 4 or the 8 here?
I think I like the 8 just because you're on the 2 sheep or 2 wheat spots already, and then be able to get more sheep anytime 8 rolls, especially since your first city is going to be on a 6-5-9, obviously. I think it's important to get more sheep since that's kind of the rare resource of your 4 wheat sheep resources.
So the
I guess there's also the thought of maybe an earlier city too with 1-4 since you have 3 ore and no wheat, but I think for the long run potential, I like the 8.
On the other hand, I already have a knight in hand, so my first purchase won't be a development card, but rather be a city or more production. So that makes the 8 sheep less important.
Yeah, And you want those turns where you're gonna be buying, multiple development cards. When you have the city, you're gonna get that city soon. So you'll be getting 2 ore on a 9. You'll likely be pulling in a lot of wheat with, the city on the 6 wheat, plus having the 4. So I think those turns where you're, getting 2 sheep on an 8 just allow you to get, have those big turns where you're maybe buying 2 or 3 development cards.
So yellow is in an interesting position because he is not in the lead in terms of production, but he is contesting red for the longest road. And because red is gonna get a lot of blocks in, yellow might actually be the player who takes the longest road instead, even though the 2 gets rolled a lot. I believe I've seen it 5 times rolled now. So yeah.
And that's kind of what you want, is you want that road battle. Yeah. You want them both to pour their resources into roads.
Yeah, into massive resource spans.
So this is always an interesting debate, is if you pour for the wheat and either hold a good development card, or you just hold with 7. One interesting thing is, like, I might hold with 7 just because if a 7 rolls right now, they're more likely to steal the sheep from you than the ore. Or now you're more likely to lose an ore, which would hurt you quite a bit. But yeah, it's an interesting debate because you definitely understand the need to want to get under 8 cards, which might benefit you now if a 7 rolls.
Oh, like that. Okay, so I wasn't even thinking about it. I hadn't even considered that option, like just holding the sheep and ore.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Because if a 7 had rolled right away, you have 5 cards and 3 of them are ore, so it's likely you get an ore stolen, which is your rarest resource there, and trying to get a city. Whereas if you just are holding a bunch of sheep in your hand, losing a sheep on a rob or steal really doesn't hurt you at all. Yeah. But it is an interesting debate because one more roll puts you at 8 cards, and that can really hurt you. But I also can take into account, like, what am I losing on a 7? You're throwing away a bunch of sheep possibly if you 7 out, which doesn't hurt you tremendously. So that's one reason to risk it maybe. But yeah, can't really go wrong with the porting for wheat either, and you are going to get a city now out of it.
So Monopoly is trying to get a brick. Oh no, is trying to give away a brick for 2 ore. I don't know why he thinks this deal would be beneficial for the other player.
So I'm curious, were you in voice chat for this game at all?
Yeah, we were in a voice chat. However, we barely said anything. So I believe this is sometimes called a German-style game, where people are much more focused on the gameplay itself than on things like table talking, negotiating, trading, and stuff like that. So more on the technical game aspect of the game. And this was quite different from my semi-final, where I played against Bob the Bandit, who's also a really strong King of Catan player. In that game, we had like a ton of table talk, a ton of negotiation, and trying to perceive someone as the leader going on. So that was to me a lot more enjoyable to say that, because I'm more used to these table talk games, and this was really quiet. Like, I tried to get a conversation starting and nobody replied, like the type of game.
I was curious to seeing you on that one turn offering all those trades out. And I figured maybe there wasn't voice chat involved with.
No, not at all. It was like we muted it ourselves. So I'm offering this deal to get a 2-for-1 from Red here, and Red accepts, and this is an interesting deal. I might be giving him a city as well, which is not really what I want. On the other hand, he might 7 out, so that would be good for me. Okay, 9 is still blocked.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's another brick's really good for you. Also, you're giving wheat to red at the same time, which red's in a very good position, doesn't produce wheat. So yeah, it is an interesting thought if you make the trade or not. I guess I probably would, just because you don't have the wood in your hand right now to really use the brick. And I think giving wheat to red can be kind of dangerous. But I guess they already got their main city out of the way. I mean, if they get another city, that's really not a good spot, the 9-10-2. I think giving a city on a 6-9-4 is dangerous. Another city really doesn't help them that much. Okay, I guess, settlement's pretty big for them.
Yeah, this is probably bigger than the city. Just as much production, 8 points. Yeah. And also the 3-for-1 port, and also more important resources, especially with that ore port. So I like this move by Red, and I hadn't considered that. I was probably more afraid of giving him a city than the road settlement here.
Yeah, that's another. Yes, like some of the things I picked up on. That's one thing I've noticed is that people look at cities like really strongly, when sometimes settlements are even more valuable. Like if the city that 9-10-2, that's like an 8-point spot, so you increase your production by 8 points. Whereas the settlement on the 6-3, I mean, obviously the port's helpful, but it's a 7-point spot, which is almost as good as sitting the 9-10-2 in terms of production. Plus, he gives them more ore for his ore port. Or if he's able to get some on the 8-4-3, that's also more valuable than the city. So I think people can sometimes undervalue settlements just because cities appear stronger, even though there's definitely spots where a settlement could even increase your production more than a city could.
Interesting that I instantly deny this deal, probably because I'm on 7 cards, but if I were to get a wood and a brick for this ore, then this would be really good for me. Like, giving him a city is definitely not good for me, but getting 2 cards, including a brick, definitely is for me. So it may have been possible. He also never offered it, so that's also quite weird. Okay, so I got the wood, so road is possible. I could 4 for 1, but I'd still be resource short, so I'd probably try to offer the sheep here. Okay, I'm going to offer wood first, trying to see what I can get. I can get a brick. The 1 for 1 deal, that's valuable to me, however not super valuable. Okay, so I'm going to offer the ore as well, just see what I can get. And by the way I'm offering things, like I'm just offering to see what can I get from them, and yellow is going to offer his classic 1 for 2 deal again. And it works. So I was about to offer the sheep and ore for wheat, but that doesn't give me the road settlement, so that doesn't work. I could use the knights offensively, but I don't think that's a good deal. I think just holding here, or maybe trying to offer 2 for 1 deal. I don't think this goes down, but I could still do the wood for brick and just hold a more valuable card. Do you think that's a good idea at all, Hawkeye?
I mean, yeah, I guess if you could get a wood for brick, that'd be good. Yeah, you do have a lot of cards, so not a lot of chance the brick gets stolen. You'll very good chance you roll the wood, obviously, and get the settlement on your turn.
So here I'm trying to get a development card. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like this as well. Wood is not as valuable to me, especially without a brick. Doesn't seem like anyone wants to make a deal here. Try this as well. I don't see it happening, but yeah, no, definitely not. Just trying to give away as many possibilities as possible.
3 for 1ing or
3 for 1, of course. Yeah. Oh, actually getting the development card. I don't know if I like this.
I think I would have held, just because ore is a lot more rare than wheat. I'd rather just chance it holding with 7, and then there's a good chance you roll wheat by your turn, or wood like that to 3 for 1. Yeah, then you end up draining all your ore supply. It maybe makes it harder to get development cards or that city in the future. So I think I personally would have held there, but I guess it's lower risk to limit your number of cards like that with that play.
I think I
would have held this year.
Okay, so red is going for the 5 for 11 or for an early connect of these settlements. I think the 5 for 11 makes a lot more sense, but
yeah, red's in a really good spot. They got the 8-4-3 available too.
Yeah, and he did it while his 9 was blocked for the bigger part of the game. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that happens when people take like the 9-12 placements like that, is that there ends up being a ton of space in the middle of the board. I mean, with the desert being on the corner like that, first and second are already going to get good settlement spots. Like you're going to get a triple hex spot like you see from you there in red, but then also leaves a lot of good triple hex spots open in the middle of the board. Whenever they take a coach spot like that. Yeah, for sure.
And this is important. Okay, what can I get? Ooh, that's interesting. That's huge. And I can get the settlement. Giving a wood is not that bad. Okay, so it seems like I'm not gonna do that.
It's tough. I mean, the 8-4-3 is obviously way better in terms of production. The settlement guarantees that spot. I guess you could potentially lose. I guess you also see that orange or yellow started committing roads into the 3-10-11. So it seems like that settlement will be there for a while. I think that's another thing you take into account, is what's the likelihood yellow is going to try to take that spot. And it seems like they aren't, having committed those 2 roads into the middle and only having 1 settlement left to build. I think in that case, the city's obviously way better for you in terms of production. And then it seems like if you're in danger of maybe losing that settlement spot, maybe you consider it. But it seems like that settlement's going to be there. So I think, the city is good, I think, to just double the production on that 8-4-3.
So we see that red is actively pursuing for the largest army right now, and also blocking and stealing from me. I assume he's going to steal from me at least, because otherwise this move wouldn't make a lot of sense. What do you think of pursuing army right now? Do you think that's a good idea for Fire Strike?
Like I said, I think their top priority at the beginning should be at the city on A510, and that they've done that now. So I think now they want to just go all out and just buy development cards. I think that's their way to win. Maybe they get a road building too, get to the A43, just go with their seaport, or just try to beat you from army because you look like you're in prime position to win now. But yeah, then they're leaving red unblocked, and red's in a very good position as well.
A huge advantage for Fire Strike is that they have positioning on me. With that, I mean, like, I activate a knight and I get my spot unblocked and I can roll. But then it immediately gets blocked again by Fire. I'm not that worried about trading with Monopoly 666 here.
So yeah, I think you evaluate the other person's position in the game. So even if the trade helps them a lot more than you, I know some people are like refuse to trade at all. Like, oh, that trade helps you a lot more. I'm not going to do it. But I think you evaluate the position. I think you can tell that they're just not going to win the game at all. If it helps you in any way, you can, maybe trade with them.
Yeah, ooh, I'm super greedy here for this 2-for-1 deal, and I think that is very unlikely to go down. Okay, so maybe I should offer the sheep for brick, I don't know.
You don't produce brick, but I mean, with all that production now, it won't be hard to 3-for-1 it to get the brick if you need to.
Where would you put it here, on the 9 or the 6?
It's a tough call. I think the 6, just because they have the ore port, and they do have the other wood spot available. So even if you block the 9, they still have a 10. So I think I like the 6. It's just flexible to give them, probably their port for brick since they have 2 wood spots. So 2 6s is essentially 3 brick. They can trade to take road. So I do like the 6 block. Yeah. Just because ore is strong in general, helps them get cities.
Oh no, I missed something. I should have gone sheep and ore for brick offer. And then I could do 3-for-1 for wood and build a settlement. Okay, now I get another development card, and it's my 5th knight I pick up. Wow.
It's good that you're in a situation where you have the extra settlement spot, because a lot of times it's already cheap setup. I mean, obviously you win with the cities and then army and 2 VPs. Getting that extra settlement spot, you obviously have the potential to win without 2 VPs. You could either just get 4 cities and army, or 3 cities, settlement, army, 1 VP. So having an extra settlement gives you the flexibility. You aren't as dependent on VPs, so that's definitely a good call there, taking a 4-3 and give you an extra settlement spot. I'm guessing they're getting a city out of it though, and they could possibly take a road, but I think you kind of want them to take road over red. Red's really good position now with 9 cards in her hand.
Interesting. I've somehow refused to take this deal. Oh, I know, I don't get it at all. Okay, so there is the city for yellow. Kind of breaking him back in the game as well. Okay, there's the 6. So I could do 2 more development cards or a city. I'm gonna go with the city instantly. I don't know if I like this. I could have also done 2 development cards. Do you think that would have been also a good idea, or?
Yeah, I like that just because, now you can just win with Settlement City and not have to rely on the VPs. Like if you buy 2 more development cards and they're 2 knights, that's just really hurts you. But I guess, it's likely you pull a Year of Plenty or a VP or a mono or something with all the knights you've pulled already. I think it's tough. If you're to pull a VP or anything besides a knight, that would have been pretty big. I guess a row building's not really that useful for you. I kind of like the city just because, you don't need VPs to win now. You just need a settlement in a city. Red should have a big turn here, though. See, they might be able to get kind of close to winning.
Yeah, maybe get on 9 points. Maybe even win it with road settlements, 2 roads, and victory points from a dev card. Okay, nah. With the 3-for-1 port, that's not gonna do it. Okay, a city, wow. I would have done a road settlement if that was possible. So Monopoly has a lot of wood brick in his hand right now because the 11 rolled as well this orbit. We should be able to connect.
You're kind of hoping he takes the road. There's coordinated 5s with wood brick, so anytime 5 rolls, he gets brick. You or Green's able to trade him wood. So even though he's not on both the 5s for the coordinated 5s, there's still possibility of trading for him to take road. But now Red's just in danger of winning on their turn.
Okay.
When he goes that way.
I'm not anywhere close to getting a settlement done, or at least he doesn't know that I have knights, but he does then. And he knows that I'm not close at all, so maybe I should block yellow here. Do you think so?
Tough call, because he's on 8 points now, but I think red's just closer. Because as soon as they take road, they're probably going to keep it. Yeah, red could just win with a couple good rolls, so I think, I like blocking red. You don't need the settlement to win. It's obviously pretty helpful. But I guess, orange is going to get close too now, but they're going to have a hard time getting a city. They'll probably get to 9 points, but the city will be tough. But I guess there's always a possibility of them pulling a VP. I guess you could have compromised and blocked the 10 maybe, but that's not that useful for red. Orange is close. You would think red will take road pretty quickly, and then orange will have no chance. And then orange is basically out of the game once red takes road, and then
yellow's road length. Well, he could extend around the 5 brick as well, so maybe he's not out of the game. So they can both do a lot of damage this orbit. So I can give up on this settlement spot probably already.
So here you're kind of hoping maybe red takes road, force orange to do something else, but this kind of gives orange a chance to win if they're able to get a settlement, maybe pull a VP, and they got a good roll.
Do you think if orange has to make a decision between settling here and connecting his roads, what do you think should be the course of action here?
Red basically wins with 3 roads. I think maybe you just gamble that red can't. Actually, red just needs 2 roads. That is tough, and they have brick in their hand. I guess if he's able to do both, then that's what you do. But
5 cards.
Maybe you just gamble that red can't get the 2 roads, especially with their 6 being blocked.
3, right?
Now they do with orange building a road, but they could have got to 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he's able to connect and build some, it's ideal. But
yeah, I know from this game I was like saying for a few orbits in a row that yellow should take longest road or connect his roads before red wins the game. Let's see what he was going to do. And right here, 5 cards. He stays around it for a long time, so I assume he should be able to do it with a 3-for-1 trade or by trading with one of the other players. I also got to keep in mind that I seem very scary to them. Like, I have 8 visible points and 2 hidden development cards. I've declared to them for a very long time that I had, like, the moment I had 3 knights in my hand, I said, I only have knights, guys. I'm not that scary. I'll just hold army, and they obviously didn't believe me. So, okay, so we're going to see a 3-for-1 for ore, so no connection of these roads, and it's my turn. Not going to play a knight most likely before the roll. I want to keep the 6 blocks for sure. And we roll another 2. Wow. So there's 3 brick already for red. If he adds 3 wood to that. So I gotta block the 9 wood here. Going over the log to see what he picked up. And we know we rolled a 10 recently on red's turn. But I believe he used that for the road settlement. It's very unknown what other cards he has in his hands, although we can assume with the 6 ore block that it is most likely woods. We don't know much about green's hand. Like, it could be victory points, monopolies, or some things along those lines. So I'm gonna use the knight on the 10 here. Oh, I want to stop both of them, of course. We've got the sheep. Gonna try to fish for a victory point, and I don't get it. I get my 6th knight.
That's not ideal draws there.
Oh, and we rolled a 9, so if the 7 or a monopoly doesn't go down, this is game for red. Or maybe green can take a road, but that seems very unlikely. So
I guess with a monopoly, they would be able to do it.
It's somewhat likely he has a mono, because like 8 knights are known, or we know there has been. Okay, it's a knight, so no mono.
Not ideal.
Put it on a 6. I like it because the ore board, you gotta just gamble on the numbers not rolling.
7 would stop them, I guess.
Yeah, so 7 can be the out, or maybe he doesn't have enough brick anymore to build 3 roads and just needs 2. Okay, so he rolls an 11 for gets a wheat. See 1 road, 2 roads.
Yeah, should be
and
enough.
That's it. That's game. So AliasO takes the Spiel Digital Championship home. I think red AliasO played this really well, like basically playing without wheat the entire game and just relying on trading skills and the boards. Yeah, thank you for commentating this game with me, Hawkeye. I learned some new things. I hope the people watching did too. If you want to watch more King of Catan content, then the playlist is below. I also will put up the data research video next to it. So if you want to watch players like Hawkeye and me study this game and try to become better players, then this video is definitely for you. And I'd like to, again, thank you for watching and encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to get it in your feed when the next video drops.